This is like when you're watching National Geographic and the old hungry lion is fighting the young cub who's, or whatever they call him, the young lion, right? Who's ready to come and get it, man. And I think that this is really it. Number 3 puts his rank on the line against number 14. This is a lose-lose fight for Brian Ortega right here. But my man has found Jesus, and he said, I don't care, brother. We doing this. We putting it on the line because guess what, man? I got to see what I got. And I think that there's a deeper meaning to this fight for Brian Ortega than there is for Diego Lopes. But that's not what makes a fight. What makes a fight is X's and O's, which we want to break down. Ortega opened as a minus 125 favorite, brother. He is no longer the favorite. If we're taking a look at the current odd right now, he is currently sitting at plus 120, minus 140. Come back for Diego Lopes. Momentum? Is it another y'all must have forgot, given Ortega is coming off of that submission victory against Yair Rodriguez? What are your thoughts here?
I think this is a y'all must have forgot, Derek, and that's why I'm throwing Brian Ortega in a parlay. Like I said, plus money. When's the last time we've seen Brian Ortega at plus money, man? It had to have been a couple years ago. I don't know. Was he the last fight?
Yeah, Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. You're right. But still, at the same point, I guess I should say minus money with this big of a spread, right? Like a differential in the rankings, right? Yair, he's right up there. He's a top talent. He's elite. We know that Diego Lopes has that elite performance and elite talent, but he just hasn't proved himself up against the record that Brian Ortega has, like the upper echelon of those people fighting. That right there blew my mind when I see him as plus money going into this, but it makes sense. Like you said, this is the young, hungry lion versus the old grizzled vet. I still think this is y'all must have forgot for the vet.
And you could be right here, man. There's only one problem that I see here, and it's not even a problem because I'm a big T-City fan. If I solo myself out right now, folks, what do you see? Brian Ortega, he's right there, man. We were there. Volkanovski, Ortega. I was rooting for the submission attempts, right, against Volkanovski to become the champion. But we've seen the same thing time and time again with Brian Ortega. The man is just too tough for his own good in all the best ways, right? The man walks through damage. We saw him almost get taken out in that first round of the Yair Rodriguez fight, but what wins the fight? It's the durability, it's the toughness. It's the same thing we just said about Yuri Prochazka. The man can go, but the question is, do you need to take all of that damage? And here is where it gets interesting, AJ, is if we pull up right now the big screen and we take a look at just kind of the size differential, man. 69-inch reach for Ortega, 72.5 for Lopes. This dude is 5'11", Ortega is 5'8". And the only reason I bring that up, because a lot of times that doesn't matter, but when you look at Diego Lopes in the octagon, on every opponent, you're like, why is this dude so big? Like, this dude, I don't want to say a weight bully, but bro, he should be fighting like 170. Like, the dude looks massive, right? So let's actually talk about how Brian Ortega has a path to victory right here. Submission and grappling, I would say, is a push. The only difference is I actually would argue Ortega probably has better wrestling than Diego Lopes, who's a little more prone to try to take the fight to his back and be offensive off of his back. So if Ortega can initiate wrestling and earn the top positions, if this goes the distance, we might see a little favor in Ortega. The only problem is Diego Lopes does nothing but attack for all 15 minutes. So it's going to be interesting. What do you think right there?
Yeah, no, I was with you. The longer this fight goes, the more it favors Brian Ortega, especially having to dig down on that grit, on that durability. Yeah. As long as he's not getting pieced up from moment one. But right there, Derek, my big question is, who do you think has the bigger boxing? Because I agree with you, right? Like, there's a push in the grappling. Arguably, Ortega has the better wrestling. I agree with you there. But when it comes down to the stand-up, right, like, who's going to be the one that's more fluid? Because we've seen Diego Lopes be able to put together some smooth combos and knock people out.
If we're being real here, and this is cat's out the bag, folks. I'm betting Diego Lopes here, right? You watch tape. Ortega is the better striker. It's not even close, bro. Ortega is a fluid, crispy striker who can evade. He gets hit a lot, but he can evade. He can slip. Diego Lopes, when you watch him strike, he looks jittery. He looks a little tight. The thing that you always advise anybody you're coaching, like, hey, man, we need you to relax a little bit. But he seems so wound up, so ready to big blast. But what do those big blasts do, man? He hits people and they crumble. So that's the thing right there. I think Diego Lopes, the one thing that he also does really well, man, is anytime he finds you in a clinch, he's producing damage. Tie plum, uppercut down the pipe, hooks. He's stringing them together, then following you to the ground. That's what he did to knock out Sadiq Youssef. That's what he did to clip Pat Sabatini, man. All of the guys that he's fought, it always ends up there. So as a pure boxer, Brian Ortega is a better pure boxer. I think Diego Lopes just strings together more violent, explosive shots. But if T-City could take them, do you hit that moment, AJ, where you say the same thing that MVP, Michael Venom Page, said against Kevin Holland? He said, I hit him with some stuff, and I looked at him like, Oh, you're still here. Okay. All right. I guess we got to figure something else out. If we hit that moment and Diego Lopes gets wide eyed and be like, bro, what else do I got to do? Do you think that he falters? Because I don't think he does. Because I then think he has his grappling to rely on there. So that's where it gets really interesting. So you can choose to answer right here, or you can take us into a different direction. But I think that when it comes down to it, man, they're both really good, just in different ways. So it's hard to quantify. What do you think?
No, I agree with you, Derek. I don't think Diego Lopes is going to falter once the striking starts to get away from him, right? Once he throws out combos and you see Brian Ortega still walking him down, I don't think that's going to falter, right? I don't think Diego Lopes is going to falter there. Where I do think he's going to falter is when he's not able to get the fight to the ground, right? When he's not able to get his hands on Ortega and Ortega's able to take him down, control the fight, get back up, whatever the case is. When Ortega stays in control for the entire 15 minutes, that right there, that's going to be grinding on Lopes the entire time, getting him worried, getting him concerned, dragging on that cardio, right? Because we haven't seen him have a cardio problem, but when you're in there, you're getting beat up. You can't do anything to the guy, even though you're punching him. It starts to drag you down a little bit, and that's where I expect to see, and no disrespect, but the younger fighter, right? The less experienced fighter in Lopes, that's where I start to see the puzzle pieces fall out of place.
Fair play. Two plays I think that are really interesting here in this matchup right here. The first one is going to be the over spread. So let's take a look at it. Over currently sitting out 1.5 rounds once again. Minus 215 for that or minus 215 for over 1.5 rounds right here. We've seen Diego Lopes is just constantly smashing people first round. I think the durability of Brian Ortega can definitely hold up. But again, same play. The Yair Rodriguez fight, he could have been out. Depending on the referee, that fight could have been stopped. Right? So my question to you is, do we bank on it and say minus 215? That's fair for over 1.5 rounds. This is a serious step up in competition. So I definitely like the number. Or are you sticking with the tried and true? Because I feel like if the under 1.5 is really just for the Lopes bettors, I think I don't see a path to victory for Ortega in less than, you know what I mean? What is it? In less than 7.5 minutes? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. If you're Lopes better, that right there, that plus 175 is all for you. The longer, like I said before, the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Ortega, and that's where that minus 215 comes in.
Okay, fair. So we like the play right there. Whether you're, depending on who you're betting, this is what you're going to favor. I personally think that minus 215 just for the over. I like it, man. The step up in competition, no matter who wins, I think that that's going to be a fair play right here. The last one is look at the decision prop on both fighters, brother. Same. And it sounds like you see a serious lean towards Ortega, so that's where the value can be found. So for the Ortega bettors out there, are you saying hammer down plus 325 decision right now, take it to the bank and earn a ridiculous amount of cash? What do you think?
If you're not taking the money line or you're not taking my parlay, then yes, man, smash that plus 325 for the decision. That's the best way if you're Ortega better to go. I as much as we see him get himself into trouble and have to rely on that durability, I think Ortega's going to play a smarter fight right here, take this one long and drag the young gun into those deep bloody waters.
Fair enough right there. So to go ahead and round everything out, this is a contentious pick. You're going to see a lot of those on this card, UFC 303. I like Diego Lopes. I'm going with the size. I'm going with the youth. And honestly, man, I'm rolling with the hot hand. But AJ, talk to the people about Ortega and let's keep it pushing.
I'm rolling with the grizzled vet. I'm rolling with the experience. And like I said, I'm expecting a long fight right here. So make sure you get your brews. Make sure you get some food around with you. This one's going to make you cash whichever side of the coin you're betting right here.
All right, that's your co-main event, folks.